Hello everyone. The topic which I am going to discuss from Unit 1 of Statistics from Management is Introduction to Statistics. Introduction to Statistics. The word statistics have been derived from the Latin word status or the Italian word statista or the German word statistic or the French word statistic. Statistics and statistical techniques are very much useful for research in any field. The word statistics has two connotations. The first one is as statistical method, the second one is as numerical data. As statistical method, it is in the single noun. It describes a branch of applied mathematics whose purpose is to provide methods of dealing with collection of data, extraction of information, tabulating, summarizing, and analyzing the numerical data. As numerical data, it is in the plural noun. It describes a collection of numerical data about employment, population, birth, income, and expenditure. Therefore, statistics, it is defined as studying, collecting, analyzing, interpreting, and organizing the data. Statistics, it is a science that helps to gather and analyze numerical data in huge quantities. With the help of statistics, you can measure, control, and communicate uncertainty. In other words, it is described as the characteristics of a sample and is generally used to estimate a population parameter's value. When it comes to the scope of statistics, scope it covers the problems of social, physical, and natural sciences and also finds numerous applications. When it comes to the characteristics, it consists of aggregates of facts. It should be numerically expressed. It should be capable of being either numerated or estimated. It should be collected in a systematic manner. It should be collected for predetermined purpose, and also it should be capable of being placed in relation to each other. When it comes to the important statistics is important in human behavior, in states, in economics, in planning, in business and commerce, like sales control, marketing decisions, time and motion studies, investment, personal administration, inventory control, credit policy, insurance, accounting. Not only that, it is also important in industries for location of industries, quality control, other spheres like demand, production planning, marketing decision, planning future operations, inventory control, personal administration, operational research. It is also important in management, operation research, insurance, banking and investment, in physical sciences, in natural sciences like astronomy, biology, medicine, meteorology, and also it is also important in social sciences like sociology, psychology, mathematics, war, education, and also it is in the universal use. Statistical methods. You have different methods like descriptive method, analytical method, inductive method, inferential method, and applied method. Descriptive method. Descriptive method is also known as descriptive statistics. It consists of preliminary steps to find analysis and interpretation. It includes methods of collection, methods of tabulation, measures of central tendency, measures of dispersion, analysis of time series, measures of skewness. These methods they help in summarizing and interpreting the salient features of data. The second one is analytical method or analytical statistics. This analytical method they help in analysis and comparison between two or more variables. It includes methods of correlation, regression analysis, association of attributes. The next one is inductive method. Inductive method is also known as inductive statistics. It consists of procedures that help in generalization or estimation on basis of random observation or partial data. This inductive method, it includes procedure of interpolation and extrapolation. Next one is inferential methods. Inferential methods is also known as inferential statistics. It consists of procedure that help in drawing inferences. Inferences about what? Inferences about the characteristics of the population on basis of samples. It includes theory of sampling, different tests of significance, ANOVA. The last method is applied method. Applied method, it consists of procedure which are applied to the problems of real life. It includes index number, vital statistics, experimental design. And the last one is statistical decision theory. Statistical decision theory deals with the decision problems, alternatives, uncertainties, consequences, and criteria of choice. Types of variables in statistics. Statistical variables are classified into nature of variable and sources of variable. Nature of variable is further classified into numerical and categorical. Numerical means these are the variables which are measurable, whereas categorical variables are the variables that are not measurable. And the second one is sources of variable. Sources of variable is further classified into primary data and secondary data. In some cases, it is published data or unpublished data. When it comes to the data, data are classified as micro and macro. Micro data, it relates to the one unit or one region, whereas macro data, it relates to the entire economy or entire industry. Application of statistical techniques to managerial decision problems, it depends on the availability and reliability of statistical data. When it comes to the published data means that have already been collected and are readily available in the published form. When it comes to the unpublished data that have not yet been collected, but you need to collect them. When it comes to the primary data is the data to be collected by the person. This data can be collected with an instrument called questionnaire or schedule. Secondary data is the data that which is available for use from other sources. Other sources, for example, like sales, labor data, financial statements, production schedules, cash flow, budget data. So from all this data, you can collect secondary data. The nature of statistical study. Whether a given problem pertains to business or to some other field, there are some well-defined steps that need to be followed in order to reach meaningful conclusions. The first one is formulation of the problem, objectives of the study, determining sources of data, designing data collection forms, conducting the field survey, organizing the data, analyzing the data, reaching statistical findings, and presentation of findings. The first one is formulation of the problem. The statistical study always begins with the formulation of the problem on which the study is to be done. The second one is objectives of the study. After formulating the problem, the objectives of the study are determined. The third one is determining sources of data. Once the problem and the objectives are formulated, you need to determine the data required to conduct the study, and data can be collected from primary source and secondary source. The fourth one is designing the data collection forms. Here, in order to design the data, two methods are available, that is observational method and survey method. Suitable questionnaire is to be designed in order to collect the data from the respondents in a field survey, that is primary data. The fifth one is conducting the field survey. The field survey is conducted by interviewing sample respondents, and sometimes the survey is done by mailing questionnaires to the respondents instead of contacting them personally. The sixth one is organizing the data. The field survey always it provides raw data from the respondents, so it is necessary to organize the data in the form of suitable tables and charts, because in order to know their salient features. And the seventh one is analyzing the data. On basis of preliminary examination of the data collected, as well as the nature and scope of the problem, analyze the data by selecting the most appropriate statistical technique. And the next one is reaching statistical findings. Whatever the analysis you are making, the analysis will result in some statistical findings. Interpret these findings in terms of concrete problem with which the investigation was started. And the last one is presentation of finding. The last step is presenting the findings of the study, which is properly interpreted in a suitable form. And here you need to go with the choice between an oral presentation and a written one. Applications of statistics. Statistics is applied in mathematics, economics, medical, psychology, education, quality testing, astronomy, weather forecasting. In mathematics, we use statistical methods like probability and dispersion in order to get more accurate information. When it comes to the economic parameters like the inflation of a country, employment status, exports and imports are dependent on statistical methods. In medical statistics, it measures the effectiveness of a drug. Psychology, here psychologists use statistics for computing things like peer pressure amongst the youngsters or people. Education, schools and colleges use statistics to interpret which course the students are more interested in. Quality testing, all the products a company produces goes through a quality check by employing statistical tools. Astronomy, the size, the distance and other parameters of the objects in the universe are measured using statistical methods. Weather forecasting. Weather forecasting to predict the forthcoming weather, a statistical tool is used. Importance of statistics in business. The three major functions in any business enterprise in which statistical methods are useful are the planning of operations, the setting up of standards, the function of control. The first one is the planning of operation. The planning of operation either special projects or to their recurring activities of a firm over a specific period. The second one is setting up of standards. Setting up of standards like the size of employment, volume of sales, fixation of quality norms for the manufactured produce. The third one is the function of control. The function of control, it involves comparison of actual production achieved against the norm or target that was set earlier. In case, for example, if production has fallen short of the target, it gives remedial measures so that such a deficiency does not occur again. Numerous uses of statistics in business, like for project planning, for budgetary planning and control, for inventory planning and control, for quality control, marketing, production, and personal administration. Not only that, statistical quality control methods are used to ensure the production of the quality goods. Central tendency. One of the important objectives of statistical analysis is to determine various numerical measures which describes the inherent characteristics of a frequency distribution. The first of such measure is an average. Average, it provides the gist and gives a bird's eye view of huge mass of unwidely numerical data. Averages, they are the typical values around which other items of distribution. They are the values which lie between the two extreme observations, that is, smallest and the largest observation of the distribution. And it gives an idea about the concentration of the values in the central part of the distribution. Central tendency, it is the central value in statistics. It is the typical value in probability distribution, generally called an average. When it comes to the properties of central value of average are, it should be rigidly defined. Computation should be based on all observations. It should lend itself for algebraic treatment. It should be least affected by extreme observations. Various measures of central tendency are mathematical averages and averages of position. Under mathematical averages, you are going to study about arithmetic mean, weighted mean, geometric mean, and harmonic mean. When it comes to the averages of position, median, mode, quartiles, deciles, and percentiles you are going to study. The measures that are computed for a sample are called statistics, and these are denoted by lowercase letters. Measures computed for the entire population are called as parameters, and they are denoted by capital letters. Arithmetic mean. Arithmetic mean, it is the most popular method of calculating average. It is calculated by dividing the sum of all observations with the number of observations. There are two methods to calculate arithmetic mean. They are direct method and indirect method. Indirect method, it is also called as shortcut method. The above two methods can be applied on three different series, that is ungrouped data, grouped discrete series, and grouped continuous series. When it comes to the merits of arithmetic mean, it is very simple to calculate and understand. It is systematically defined. It takes into consideration all the observations during the computation of the arithmetic mean. It is used for further mathematical treatment. It is least affected by any changes in sampling. When it comes to the demerits, that is disadvantages of arithmetic mean are, it is greatly affected by extreme observations. It is not applicable for open-end classes. It can be used only for the quantitative measures but not for the qualitative characteristics. It cannot be calculated if any one of the observations goes missing. It takes into consideration all the observations when carrying out the calculation. Whatever you are calculating it, that is the calculated arithmetic mean, may not be one of the values which the variable have actually taken. uh, Median. Median is the mid value of all the given observations. It divides a set of observations into two equal parts. Half of the observation in the given set are lower than and half of the observation are greater than. Median is called as positional average as the value depends upon the position occupied in the observation. If the data set contains an odd number, median is the middle value, and if the data set is an even number, the median is the average of the two middle items. When it comes to the merits or advantages of median are, it is firmly defined, it is easy and simple to calculate and understand, it is not affected by extreme observations, it can be calculated for open-end classes, which is not possible in the arithmetic mean. Median is the only average which can be calculated for qualitative characteristics based on their magnitude. When it comes to the disadvantages of median are, like, it cannot be calculated accurately for the even numbers of observations of ungrouped data. It is not suitable for further mathematical treatment. It is less stable than mean. Under median, you are going to calculate quartiles, deciles, and percentiles. Quartiles, when it comes to the quartiles, it refers to the values dividing the given series into four equal parts, that is Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4. When it comes to the deciles, it refers to the values which divides the given series into 10 equal parts so that there will be 9 deciles. That is D1, D2, D3, D4, D5, D6, D7, D8 and D9. When it comes to the percentiles, it refers to the values which divides the given series into 100 equal parts. It means that there will be 99 percentile, that is P1, P2, P3, P4 up to P99. The application of median is helpful in understanding the characteristics of the data when observations are qualitative in nature, where extreme values are present in the data set and a quick estimate of average is desired. Mode. Mode, it refers to the value in a distribution which occurs most frequently. That is, mode is the value which has maximum frequency. The value which occurs maximum number of times than any other value in a given set of observations is called as mode. The advantages. The advantages of mode are, like, it is easy to calculate and understand. Usually it is ascertained by inspection only. Mode is not affected by extreme values. It can be calculated even when the extreme values are not given in the problem. The value of mode can be ascertained even when open-end class are given in the distribution. It is also suitable for such situations where variable is not measurable but where observations can be categorized or ranked. Mode can be ascertained even when unequal class intervals are given, but the difference between the modal class and its preceding and succeeding class is equal. Disadvantages of mode are, like, mode cannot be used for further mathematical calculation. Fluctuations of sampling, it affects the value of mode. Mode is not defined rigidly. Mode is not applicable when different items of data different in terms of significance. Mode is a fluctuating average as it is based upon the selection of class interval. You can determine the mode in individual series, in discrete series, and in continuous series. Here, determination of mode in individual series, the steps involved is first you are going to arrange the data either in ascending or descending order. Check the value which is repeating maximum number of times. The value repeating maximum number of times is considered as the value of mode. Determination of mode in discrete series you can determine in two ways, that is inspection method and grouping and analysis table. In the inspection method, like you are going to take the maximum value or highest value is selected from the frequency column, and the value corresponding to the highest frequency value is considered as mode. You can determine mode in continuous series. The steps involving in calculating mode in continuous series are like uh, inspection by inspection method or by preparing grouping and analysis table. Dispersion. The various measures of central tendency like mean, median and mode gives us one single figure that represents the entire data. But the average alone cannot adequately describe a set of observations unless all the observations are the same. Therefore, it is necessary to describe the variability or dispersion of the observations. In two or more distributions, the central value may be the same, but still there can be wide disparities in the formation of distribution. Therefore, you can define dispersion as the measure of the variation of the items. When it comes to the significance of measuring variation is here, measures of dispersion are needed for four basic purposes. The first one is to determine the reliability of an average, to serve as a basis for the control of the variability, to compare two or more series with regard to their variability, to facilitate the use of other statistical measures. The properties of a good measure of variation are: it should be simple to understand, it should be easy to compute, it should be rigidly defined, it should be based on each and every item of the distribution, it should have sampling stability, it should not be unduly affected by extreme items. Mean deviation. Mean deviation is also known as the average deviation. It is the average difference between the items in a distribution and the median or mean of that series. This measure is useful for small sample with no elaborate analysis. Variance. The standard deviation is an absolute measure of dispersion. The corresponding relative measure is known as coefficient of variation. This coefficient of variation, it is used in such problems where we want to compare the variability of two or more than two series. Standard deviation. Standard deviation, it was introduced by Carl Pearson in 1823. It is the most important and widely used measure of studying dispersion. It is the square root of the mean of the square deviation from the arithmetic mean. Range. Range, it is the simplest method of studying dispersion. It is defined as the difference between the value of the smallest item and the value of the largest item that is included in the distribution. The formula for calculating range is L minus S, that is capital L minus capital S. L stands for largest item and S stands for smallest item. You can use range in business for quality control, fluctuations in the share prices, and weather forecast. And the next one is interquartile range, or it is also called as quartile deviation. Quartile deviation, it represents the difference between the third quartile and the first quartile. The formula for calculating interquartile range is Q3 minus Q1. Quartile deviation formula is Q3 minus Q1 divided by 2. Skewness. The literal meaning is lack of symmetry. We study skewness to have an idea about the shape of the curve, which we can draw with the help of the given frequency table. Skewness, it is the degree of asymmetry found in a distribution of probability. That is, skewness is a measure of how much a random variable probability distribution varies from the normal distribution. When both sides of the distribution are not distributed equally, it is known as skewed data. Skewness, we have three types: symmetrical distribution, positive skewness, and negative skewness. Symmetrical distribution means equal distance on either side of the central value. They have the same frequencies. When they have the same frequencies, that type of distribution is said to be skewed. Positive skewness. Positive skewness, it is often referred as right skewed. It is a distribution type where most values are concentrated to the left tail of the distribution, whereas the right tail of the distribution is longer. The general relationship between the central tendency measures in a positively skewed distribution can be expressed as mean greater than median greater than mode. Negative skewness. Negative skewness, it is often referred as left skewed. It is a distribution type where more values are on the right side of the distribution graph, whereas left tail of its distribution graph is longer. Therefore, skewness, it is the degree of asymmetry found in a distribution of probability. Distribution can exhibit to varying degrees, that is right, that is positive skewness, or left, that is negative skewness, and zero skewness. Zero skewness, it exhibits a normal distribution, that is bell curve. We have two different measures of skewness, that is absolute measure of skewness and relative measure of skewness. Absolute measure of skewness, it can be calculated by mean minus mode is the formula, or else mean minus median, or when skewness is calculated on basis of quartile, then the formula is Q3 plus Q1 minus 2Q2. The second one is relative measure of skewness. Relative measure of skewness is also known as coefficient of skewness. It is defined as an absolute measure of skewness expressed in relation to some measure of dispersion. And here the different methods under relative measure of skewness are Carl Pearson coefficient of skewness, Bowley's coefficient of skewness, and Kelly's coefficient of skewness. In the skewness, by making use of the given data, the shape of the curve can be drawn. The distribution is called as symmetrical or skewed if the distributions satisfy the conditions like mean, median, and mode should fall at distinct points. Quartile should not be equal distance from median. The shape of the curve drawn by utilizing the given data is not symmetrical. the curve stretched more towards one side than to the other side. Kurtosis. Kurtosis in statistics can be referred to as another measure for defining the frequency distribution, in addition to the central tendency, dispersion, and skewness. Kurtosis, it enables us to measure the flatness and or peakedness of the curve. The knowledge about kurtosis and skewness is essential for working of statistical procedures because there exist some procedures that do not support skewed data. Therefore, kurtosis, it is a statistical measure used to describe the degree to which scores cluster in the tails or the peak of the frequency distribution. The peak is the tallest part of the distribution and the tails are the ends of the distribution. There are three types of kurtosis. The first one is mesokurtic, second one is leptokurtic, and the third one is platykurtic. Mesokurtic. Mesokurtic means distribution that are moderate in breadth and curves with a medium peaked height. Lipokurtic means more values in the distribution tails and more values close to the mean, that is sharply peaked with heavy tails. Platykurtic means fewer values in the tails and fewer values close to the mean, that is the curve has a flat peak and has more dispersed with the score's lighter tails. The gist of the topic is like statistical data, it constitutes the basic raw material of the statistical method. These data are either readily available or collected by the analyst. And here, while collecting, the manager he faces four types of situation. The first situation is when data needed to be presented in a form which helps in easy grasping, for example, like presentation of performance of data either in graphs or charts or tables. uh, the second case he faces is where no specific action is contemplated, but it is intended to test some hypothesis and draw some inferences. And the third situation he faces when some unknown quantities have to be estimated or relationship established through observed data. And the fourth case is here when a decision has to be made under uncertainty regarding a course of action to be followed. Although statistics is widely used in all spheres of human activity, it has some limitations. Like there are certain phenomenon or concept where statistics cannot be used. This is because these phenomena or concepts are not amenable to measurement. For example, like intelligence, courage, these cannot be quantified. Statistics, it reveals the average behavior, the normal or the general trend. An application of the average concept, if applied to an individual or a particular situation, may lead to a wrong conclusion and sometimes may be disastrous. Since statistics are collected for a particular purpose, such data may not be relevant or useful in other situations. Statistics is not 100% precise as in mathematics or accountancy. Statistics in statistical surveys, sampling is generally used as it is not physically possible to cover all the units or all the elements comprising the universe. At times, association or relationship between two or more variables is studied in statistics, but such a relationship does not indicate cause and effect relationship. A major limitation of statistics is it does not reveal all pertaining to a certain phenomenon. Apart from the limitations of statistics, there are misuses of statistics. Like at times, the source of data is not given. Like another misuse is sometimes one gives inaccurate data. In statistics, several times one has to conduct a survey which necessitate to choose a sample from the given population. The sample may turn out to be unrepresentative of the universe. When a sample that is unrepresentative of the universe is a major misuse of statistics. And a central tendency based on the properties of the data, the measures of central tendency are selected. If you have symmetrical distribution of continuous data, all the three measures of central tendency hold good. But most of the times, the analyst uses the mean because it involves all the values in the distribution or data set. If you have skewed distribution, the best measure of finding the central tendency is the median. If you have the original data, then both the median and mode are the best source or best choice of measuring the central tendency. If you have categorical data, the mode is the best choice to find the central tendency. Skewness, it essentially measures the relative size of the two tails. Kurtosis, it is a measure of the combined sizes of the two tails. Kurtosis is a measure of the combined sizes of the two tails. It measures the amount of probability in the tails. And dispersion is the extent to which a distribution is stretched or squeezed. Thank you.